Hi guys, it's Rach. Today I'm going to be reviewing for you the Real Techniques Bold Metals collection of makeup brushes, which have just launched in store here in Australia. You can now pick them up at Priceline. You can also get them on the Real Techniques website, which for Australia is realtechniques.com.au. This is a more luxe offering from the brand. Sam and Nick, I've been following them for a very long time on YouTube. The Pixie Woo channel is awesome. It gives such great advice, and the original Real Techniques brushes are fantastic, bar a few brushes which I didn't quite get along with. Overall, I think they're a great affordable range of makeup brushes, so I was really excited to see this more high-end luxe version. I believe these are supposed to be better quality. They're supposed to be aimed at a more sophisticated user, and they are overall priced at a much higher price point, which is probably the first kind of disappointing thing about these particular brushes. They do range from $39 to $65, which is quite high even for Australia. It's kind of in line with, I guess, MAC brush pricing, definitely higher than something like Sigma or Zoeva, and overall, I guess that means that I'm a little bit more critical of the brushes. I expect more from them. So I'm going to go through each one and just talk about what I like and don't like about them and which ones I'd recommend for you guys. So I'm going to start off with the face brushes. These are the two here in the gold. The number 100, this is the arched powder brush. It says that the domed cut sweeps perfectly across the face for a flawless application of pressed or loose powders. Now this one is probably the softest I find out of all the brushes. It does have a fair bit of flex to it. However, it is quite large. If we compare this to, say, this is the MAC, what is it, the 129 brush. You can see it's significantly larger. On my face, you can get quite a bit done with this brush, which some people may really like. Other people might find it just a little bit too big. I find that it does work really nice for powdering. I have also seen some people use this with liquid foundations, and all the brushes do have that synthetic fiber, so they are cruelty free, and it also means that they can generally work with both powder and liquid products and be quite successful at it. Overall, I think this is a nice brush. Is it the softest brush I've ever used? No. Is it a soft brush? Yes. Do I think it's worth $65? That's where you kind of lose me a little bit. I do think you can get just as nice powder brushes for a cheaper amount. And have them be the same quality, maybe even have them be a little bit smaller, which is generally what I would prefer. But if you were going to pick up a brush from the range, then this is one that I would recommend over some of the others, because I do think that it is a nice brush. Talking a little bit about the packaging itself, as you can see, this is completely gold. It does have a diamond, I guess, shaped handle towards the end there, which means that it stops from rolling off your counter, which I think is a good thing. They're also a lot easier to store if you plan on storing them in containers over the original brushes. If you guys remember, they have quite thick bases, which are good for standing, but I find that most people don't actually use that and instead find them quite difficult to store, whereas these ones are a lot more easy to store, and they do look stunning, obviously. Next we have the 101 Triangle Foundation Brush. Now this one has quite a unique cut to it. It is shaped in a triangular kind of form there. It does have like a tapered tip. It has one sort of flat side here and then two flat sides, and I believe the reason for that is that you're supposed to be able to, I guess, get into the little crevices of your face, which I will say, like, when I do that, it does do a good job of sort of getting around your nose. It kind of has that feel of a traditional sort of paddle brush, in that you can kind of swipe your foundation on. I will say that I tend to not apply my foundation that way. I tend to sort of more stipple or buff my foundation in. This is quite hard to. It doesn't have a ton of flex. It has a bit, but not a lot. And I would say that this is probably not the softest brush. It actually, if you press like this on your face, the little fibers at the end here that are shorter actually kind of prickle into your skin, which is not the nicest feeling in the world. Now obviously you aren't necessarily meant to push it into your face like that, but if you do, I find that it actually hurts. It's a little bit scratchy. For those of you who have more dry, flaky skin, I find that this is a little bit rough and can actually sort of pick up that skin, making it sort of flake off and therefore not have your foundation apply smoothly. So This one, while I like the fact that they were trying to be a little bit different, I find the execution just isn't that great, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend this brush, particularly because it retails for $59, and I think there are much better foundation brushes out there. Moving on to my favourite coloured brushes of the range, these are the Rose Gold Cheek brushes. The first one that we have here is the number 300 Tapered Blush brush. Again, very similar packaging, quite a long handle here, and again it has that diamond shape, but this time we have the all rose gold, and the fibers have a little bit of pink in them. You can't quite tell because I have obviously been using this for blush. This one, it has a similar shape to the face brush that we first saw, however it's obviously significantly smaller. It's probably about half the size of the arched powder brush. This one I find is a little bit more versatile. You can use it for blush, you can use it for cream blushes, you can sort of use it again for foundation if you wanted to. You do have that flat shape there, so if you wanted to, I guess you could use it for a little bit of contouring or applying highlight, whatever you kind of wanted. I find that this doesn't have as much flex as the arched powder brush butt, and therefore because it is so dense and it doesn't have a ton of movement to it, you can be more likely to maybe over apply with your blush or any other products that you are using with it, so you do have to be careful, make sure you tap off any excess. Overall, I would say that this is a nice usable brush, and again it would be one that if you really want to pick up something from the collection, that this one might be worth picking up. It does retail for $59 as well, so definitely on the pricey side. And as with most of the brushes, or as with pretty much all the brushes that I'm going to go through, I do think that there are other brushes out there that are comparable that you can get for a cheaper price. However, if you really wanted to buy one from the collection, or if you're a sucker for packaging like I am, then this one is worth looking at. The other cheek brush is the 301 Flat Contour. Again, it has that rose gold packaging. This one is kind of your quite a popular shape at the moment. It's that flat contour brush that's supposed to be able to make contouring quite simple. My issue with this brush is that it is quite thick. If we were to compare it to, let me see if I can find the Zoeva version for you guys. Here it is here. This is the Luxe Face paint brush. Even just looking at the two, you can see that the Real Techniques Bold Metals is quite a bit thicker. This one's also quite a stiff, densely packed brush. And in saying that, I find that I don't particularly like it for powder contouring products or applying the product directly to the skin, because I find that it just tends to over apply, and it can make that area just be a little bit too thick, a little bit too stripy. However, I do like it for buffing in cream contour products, so I usually would apply it either with a thinner brush, something like actually this Real Techniques pointed foundation brush. I find this is great just to dip in a little bit of product, draw a thin line, and then I'll use this brush to buff it into the skin. I also have used this for foundation. I quite like it for that. As you can see, it's looking a little bit dirty because I did use it for foundation recently. I find that this, you can kind of buff it into your skin. If you like your sort of flat top kabuki style brushes, this gives you a very similar finish, and you can get it in. It's a little bit more controlled placement there. So I do find that this is a useful brush. I don't necessarily use it how it is recommended to be used. This one is also priced at $65. It says that a dense head creates shadows and highlights on targeted areas of the face to play up your favorite features. Now, again, I probably wouldn't use this for highlight so much because I find that maybe to buff out cream highlight, but again, I feel like it packs on a little bit too much product, and for $65, that's a lot of money to spend on a brush. But if you do want to use it for those other uses that I suggested, like I said, for buffing in more cream products, for buffing in foundation, then I do think it's an okay brush. Just, again, with all these brushes, I'm going to be saying this a lot throughout the video, it's the price that kind of just pushes it. It's hard for me to recommend because of the price. That's what I'm trying to say. The last three brushes that we have here are for the eyes. These are priced at $39, I believe. The first one that we have here is the number 200 Oval Shadow Brush. This is kind of your typical flat shader brush. It is quite quite large. Like if we compare it to say another flat shader brush here, you can see it's sort of double the size. What I like this one for is for applying just like a whole sweep of eyeshadow to the lid. If I'm going to use like a base color, or sometimes I'll use even just the face powder, applying that all over the lid. That one works quite well. You can turn it on its side and sort of use it in the crease a little bit. However, I do find that I prefer a lot of my other brushes for that kind of work. I do think you can kind of use it for other uses again because it's that synthetic fiber. If you want to use cream products, you can. You can use this to buff in cream eyeshadows, again, to do a sweep of that over the lid, which is what I like to use it for. If you wanted to sort of use it for concealer around the nose or something like that, you could definitely use that, or just sort of wiping product on the face. Something like if I did want to apply a bit of cream contour or highlight, I might use this brush to actually apply the product, and then I'd go in with one of the other brushes to buff the product out. But again, $39 is pricey, so you do have to take that into account. It is one of the nicer brushes of the range, and if you are looking for something like this, then maybe this one would be worth picking up. The second brush is the 201 pointed crease brush. I find that I really don't like this for eyes at all. It's quite large and quite thick, and it doesn't have a lot of give to it. The actual point is kind of, it's quite stiff and it's kind of scratchy, which I find is a little bit too harsh for the delicate eye area. What I have used this for is concealer, for sort of spot concealing and dabbing in concealer. If you sort of want to use it again around the nose, you can kind of use it under the eyes, although again you have to be careful because like I said, it can be a little bit scratchy. Overall, for $39, I don't think this brush is worth it. There are other brushes out there, synthetic brushes, that will do a similar job that aren't so sort of scratchy. The last eye brush is the 202 angled liner. This one is a small sort of thin liner brush. I actually don't mind this one. This one has a nice slant to it. The bristles aren't too long and they aren't too wide, so you can use this for gel liner. I've recently discovered some other brushes that I prefer, but if you want to just get a line across the upper lash line, this one will definitely work. You can also use this one in the brows as well, and because it is synthetic, it's probably better than some of the other brushes that I've used before for things like the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade or any other kind of cream products that you are using in your brows. However, you can use powder products as well, and you can get quite a thin line. It's probably not the thinnest angled brush that I've ever used, but it's pretty close. It's definitely probably my favorite of the eye brushes and the one that I think is the most usable, I guess. So they are all the brushes in the range. As you can see, I do have mixed feelings about them. I think if these were priced at a similar price to the original brushes, or even just a little bit more, then I would probably be a lot more complimentary to them. But taking in the cost of them and knowing what other products that are available on the market, it's hard for me to recommend these brushes because of that. While I do think they are pretty and are good quality, I don't know if that reflects the price increase. I really don't think having the weighted handle or the pretty packaging can justify the price, and the fibers to me feel quite similar to the original. Maybe they are a little bit of a finer quality. I do believe that these are hand cut, which again would increase the price of manufacturing, but the original brushes perform so well and the brand is positioned at such a great affordable price that it's hard for me in my head to wrap my brain around having this high-end version versus the low-end version and having such a difference in price when the quality of the brushes to me seems quite similar. There's no such thing as a good or a bad product. I would say it's all about what you're willing to pay, what your expectations are, things like that. I was lucky enough to be gifted these at the launch of the range. However, if I had to spend my own money on them, I don't think I could justify it. So they are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the range. Have you picked them up? Have you tried any of them? What was your favorite? I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. I'll have the names of the brushes and the prices and links and whatever else I can in the description box below to make it easier for you guys if you do want to purchase them, as well as all my social media links, so come say hi to me there. Other than that, I'm going to go. I hope you guys are all having an awesome day and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye!